Would you like to set foot on a Greek island where a monster that is half man and half bull once roamed? Or gaze across beaches and mountains that were once the birthplace of a god?
Well, it's true that this monster and god are the products of Greek mythology. The island of Crete, where these mythological stories took shape, is very much a reality. In fact, the island is home to Europe's first Bronze Age civilization, the Minoans.
The ruins of their palaces and villages are just one example of a rich historical past that has seen Byzantines, Romans, Venetians, and Turks call the island their home.
The power of Poseidon still pounds the shores of Crete, a land one 17th century English traveler called the Garden of the Universe. Crete is where gods were born, where myths flourished, and where Europe's earliest civilization, the Minoans, rose from the Mediterranean. According to Greek mythology, Crete was the birthplace of Zeus, chief of the gods, and it was here that a half-man, half-bull, the Minotaur, devoured young men and women in the labyrinth until it was killed by the warrior Theseus. On the surface, Crete may seem typically Greek, but dig deeper and you'll find that Crete's culture is unique. The island only became part of Greece in 1913. Before that, it was ruled in turn by Romans, Byzantines, Venetians, and Turks. Crete is the largest of the Greek islands, stretching more than 150 miles east to west. Travel just a few miles inland, and you won't feel you're on an island at all. Mountains reaching as high as 8,000 feet partition Crete into distinct regions, each with its own local flavor. Iraklio is Crete's biggest city, and feels like it. The congested streets and busy port are a sharp contrast to quiet island towns nearby. Just outside the city lie the ruins of Knossos, the largest Minoan palace ever built. The palace visible today was built at the height of Minoan power around 1700 BC. Frescoes and fragments of sculpture hint at the vastness of Knossos, which once had hundreds of rooms on several floors. While Knossos reveals the grandeur of the Minoan upper class, the ruins of Hunya show how the commoners lived, from the tools they used to their religious beliefs. Hunya is the best preserved Minoan town. Alleys, stairways, and entire city blocks map out a town built 3,500 years ago. Modern Cretan villages appear to have changed little from the time of Hunya. The streets are just as narrow and are lined with small, crowded houses. The quaint fishing town of Aya Galini retains the charm of old-world Crete, even though it has been invaded by tourism. Its picturesque harbor is cluttered with small restaurants, or tavernas, dishing out platefuls of fresh octopus, shrimp, and swordfish. There's no shortage of beaches along the coast outside of Aya Galini, but there are also plenty of vacationers. The best-known beaches, such as Matala, become a sea of sunbathers in the summer. Matala's boom began in the 1960s, when an international community of hippies moved into the caves along its coast. No trip to Crete would be complete without a visit to Chania, the island's second largest and arguably most attractive city. Chania was the capital of Crete until 1971, but it hasn't yet suffered the influx of tourists seen in Iraklio. Its narrow alleys make it easy to get lost, but eventually they'll lead you back to the sea. The sea is what forged Crete's place in history, first washing ashore navies of invaders, and more recently, flotillas of tourist ferries. It is enmeshed in the island's culture, providing a livelihood for many residents. While Poseidon, the god of the sea, may not always have been kind to Crete, fortunately, he never claimed it for his own. Steve Nettleton, CNN reporting.
Tourism is often a mixed blessing. On the positive side, international visitors are boosting Crete's economy.
That's true, but it also places pressures on Crete by crowding the city streets and commercializing the culture. Still, the large number of tourists that come to the island proves just how valuable our link to the treasures of the past can be.